me. I've opened up my heart. I'm at the start. I save the world. I save the world.
Thank you for being here. I wanted to have a special hello and welcome to those of you who are watching the recorded video now. So the videos of my talks are put on 3 different platforms at this time. They're on YouTube, they're on BitChute, and they are on Rumble. So please subscribe to whichever channel you are watching these and leave a comment. If you subscribe, you're able to leave a comment. I love reading the comments. Some of you have been leaving comments, so I love reading the comments about the talk and what thoughts they triggered in you. And you're welcome to disagree if you feel like that's what you want to share. Title of my talk today, Restoring Spiritual Religious Thought. So I keep reading things, I keep seeing videos about how we're entering a time where we need to restore spiritual religious thinking, spiritual and religious values. And noteworthy, a number of people who think that is indeed what we are doing. That is what we are doing. And I find this, of course, very heartening. You know, it makes me feel good to read these things. It makes me feel good to see these things. And I tend to agree. It seems like we are emerging from a decades-long movement where we tried to make science into the new religion. Suddenly people started, I guess it wasn't sudden, but people started turning to science as what was going to save them. And I think we've just come out of the pandemic and we've seen how science didn't save us. And we've seen how bereft actually science is. Bereft means deprived of or lacking something. Science is deprived and lacking. It has some benefit, but it doesn't really save us and it doesn't really bring peace. And while that is disturbing if we put our faith in science, it's also disturbing, and what got exposed during the pandemic is that the scientific community actually misrepresented things to us and lied. And it seemed like they did it in order to maintain their power, to maintain their authority. And that exposed something that is very disturbing to a lot of people. People look to science, as I said, to save them. And we made science into an idol. Science was an idol. The things that science could offer us, medicine, was also part of the idol. The intervention of and the marriage of science and government and how government was going to save us, again, another idol. If you look up the word idol in A Course in Miracles, it's mentioned 172 times. Idol or idolatry or just the plural idols. I mean, that's a lot of times. That's a lot of references to the direct word. Of course, it's talking about idols in many places without ever even using the word, but the word itself, 172 times. This is one of my favorite. Seek not outside yourself, for it will fail, and you will weep each time an idol falls. I like that. I think many are weeping. Many in our culture are weeping because the idol of science and medicine and government didn't come through. It failed. And I believe actually more are going to be weeping more soon. The Great Awakening is gathering steam. I'm not weeping. I'm actually encouraged because I think what we're seeing is the Great Awakening. And this, of course, was in the reading that David read. It says, "So will the year begin in joy and freedom. There is much to do, and we have been long delayed. Take your place, so long left unfulfilled in the Great Awakening." So I've spoken about the Great Awakening many times. I'll just give you another little information about it. The Great Awakening is a named spiritual movement that has been going on for centuries. It really started in the early 1700s in the United Kingdom, and then it spread over to the colonies. We were still the colonies then. And it was a movement where the spiritual experience was in some ways given back to the people. There had been a tendency to think that the spiritual experience was reserved for the priesthood, and then the priesthood, gave to the people the information that they gained from the spiritual experience. But the Great Awakening was a revival movement that was cross-denominational, happened outside of the churches. It happened in tent meetings out in the country, where people got together and these teachers really just fired people up and inspired people to have a real spiritual, religious experience that was personal and profound. And I think A Course in Miracles is deeply connected to that energy, to that movement. And again, I find that heartening. And I've always found this passage in A Course in Miracles very heartening. And this Great Awakening passage miraculously was not edited out of any of the editions. So it's even in the Foundation for Inner Peace edition. And the important thing really to get here is that we have a part to play in the Great Awakening. And Jesus is pushing us to take our part, to do it. We've been long delayed, but now is the time. Each of us has a unique, important part to play. Reverend Tony has a part to play. The Community Miracle Center has a part to play. In the discussion later on, you'll all get to participate in that by adding your voice. You all have a part to play in multitude of ways. And I think that's what's going on right now in the world. There is this groundswell of a spiritual and religious revival that is happening. And it's a really good thing. As I said, many idolize the government, and the government has repeatedly failed us. What the government hasn't failed to do is to give us endless war. This week we passed the 2-year mark for the war in the Ukraine. Endless war, no end in sight there. We've idolized the news media. We think the mainstream news media has the ability to keep us informed. We idolized it. We thought if we watched the news on our favorite programs or commentators or networks, maybe it was Fox, maybe it was CNN, maybe it was MSNBC, whatever. We thought we were informed, and that was good. That would help us make good decisions. And people are realizing that the media has failed us. The mainstream media, by the way, is suffering. Their viewership is at an all-time low. Countless millions of people are turning away from mainstream media. They're turning to alternative media. And this is a phenomena that's getting more and more press. I mean, alternative media, you have people who watch the Joe Rogan show. And all of his wonderful, insightful interviews that he has with so many people. There are people that watch The High Wire and Del Bigtree and all the information that he gives about medicine and science and research. People watch Tucker Carlson on the X platform. Just a few little statistics about how pervasive this is. So, Tucker Carlson's recent interview of Vladimir Putin that was first broadcast on X, within a couple days had gathered 150 million views. I mean, this is colossal. This is gigantic. Within a few days, his interview with Vladimir Putin on YouTube had gotten 8.5 million views. Again, huge. The most popular mainstream media programs on any particular night, I mean, if they get 1 million views, that's considered really, really good. You know, sometimes the real popular shows get between 1 million and 2 million views. The Five currently is the most popular show on mainstream media. That's on Fox, and that can get like 2.5 million views. But just think in your mind, you know math well enough. Compare 2.5 million views to 150 million views. And you'll see how alternative news media is towering over mainstream media now. Mainstream media is been dwarfed by these alternative platforms. I was watching something, and I spoke about this a week or two ago, I think. And the editor, I think it's the editor of the Wall Street Journal, is a woman named Emma Tucker. And she was talking to this group, and she was talking about how the media landscape has changed so much. And she said, you know, we used to own the news. That was her term. We used to own the news. We put it out there and people thought it was the truth. And now, because people have been turning to mainstream media so much, the people want us to prove the news. They want to know our sources. They want to know where we're getting what we are putting out there. And she seemed almost a little annoyed by the whole process. But that's really what's going on. People don't trust the mainstream media anymore because they see how the news was manipulated and controlled. And they were lied to a lot by the mainstream media. So now they want more accountability. So, I mean, this is a good thing. Alternative news sources are diverse and varied, and I really think they're the breath of fresh air that people really needed. You know, one thing I love about all the alternative platforms is they don't insult people's intelligence. I mean, there's an assumption here that you're an intelligent person and that you can discern what you need to discern. And you can discern, if you're given the right information, what's true and what is not true. And there's this idea from the mainstream media that you need them. You've idolized them. You need them to interpret the news for you. I was watching a recent interview on Tucker Carlson on X with Russell Brand. And Russell Brand, probably a lot of you, most of you know who he is. He's a comedian and an actor who has now turned political activist with a very, very popular podcast, and he's being attacked a lot right now. And it was a wonderful, insightful interview that he had with Tucker Carlson. The interview is recent. I'm sure you could find it if you wanted to look at it. It's January 30th, so it's not that long ago. And Mr. Brand said, "We appear to be at some precipitous moment of radical transition." Now, let me repeat that. I really liked how he worded that. We appear to be at some precipitous moment of radical transition. And I believe that's really true. We're at this precipice, this precipitous moment. And what we're doing is we're restoring the intelligence of people by giving them the ability to discern the truth for themselves. We're restoring the spiritual and religious thought that imbued values into people. And I'm, for one, am very excited about this. I think this is really a really good thing. Another thing is failing is the Hollywood machine, the machine of Hollywood to produce films that people kind of wanted to see. The Walt Disney Studio, not doing too well lately. Producing family films for, generations, kind of got so woke in their attitude that people didn't want to go see their films anymore. And this is happening all across the board with other studios, but, nature abhors a vacuum, as they say, and different production companies and different avenues of getting movies produced have miraculously appeared. Of course, what comes to mind is Angel Studios, uh, who has miraculously produced this amazingly popular series about the life of Jesus and the apostles called The Chosen. And it's produced and funded in a totally unique way. It's crowd-funded. It's funded by the people, not by big executives. It's alternatively distributed. It's distributed on apps. It's distributed for free a lot of places. People pay it forward. They just completed season number 4, and each season has 8 episodes, so that's a 32-hour-long episodes. And it's got a 7-season arc, so they still have 3 seasons to go, which means they still have 24 more episodes to go. I mean, that's a total of 56 episodes that are going to be produced. So 56 hours of the life of Jesus and the apostles. And I'm really hooked on this series. I think it's wonderful. I'm really enjoying it. I think it's highly entertaining. It has amazing production values. The recreation of the times, the sets, the costumes is just amazing. The acting is amazing. The depiction of Jewish life, I've learned so much about Jewish life. And let's face it, the title of it itself, The Chosen, the Jewish considered themselves the chosen people. So The Chosen isn't just about Jesus, though of course it is about him, but it's about the Jewish people that were around him, and it's about the apostles, which then Jesus chose. And this is just really an amazing thing. I got a little picture of The Chosen here I want to share. Okay, there's a little scene from The Chosen. That's Jesus, of course, in the middle. And then on his left is Simon the Zealot, or they call him Simon Z. And well, then on his left, which is my right, with the long hair, that's Simon who became Peter. So he's in the process of changing his name now to Peter, which actually means rock. I just love it. This series is really amazing and very entertaining and very enlightening. And while, yes, it's not exactly A Course in Miracles, they had an episode recently that was all about forgiveness, and it was such a wonderful teaching about forgiveness that, any A Course in Miracles student could really relate to that. But again, the success of this series shows you what's going on spiritually and religiously in our culture. People want to see this. People want to experience this. People want to have their life with religious, spiritual thought and values at the foundation of it. I was educated just really recently about this new app that you can get for your phone or for your tablet that has had this huge popularity, and it's called the Hallow app, like hallowed be thy name. And it's an app that brings you Christian stories, music, interactive things. It's very high tech. It's got real impressive technology. You download it, you can use it for a month for free, and then if you like it, you can pay a small monthly fee to have it. And again, the success of things like this is what what is said about the Hallow app. If you go to the App Store, it says Hallow is a Christian prayer app that offers audio-guided meditation sessions to help us grow in our faith and spiritual lives and find the peace of God. I mean, who couldn't align with that purpose? So I'll let you know what I think of it. I've just had it now for a short period of time, but it was impressive. It's impressive technology. And it's just impressive that something like that is being so successful. People are gravitating to it. People want this. You know, I know some are a little scared and maybe threatened by what appears to be going on in our culture, but I'm not. I'm actually encouraged. I am actually excited. So I do know that things seem unstable in many ways, but it's a temporary instability. And the Course of Miracles talks about this. It talks about false underpinnings, that when false underpinnings are exposed, things are temporarily seen as unstable. I think a lot of the uneasiness that people are feeling right now is because of the temporary instability of the false underpinnings being removed. The actual quote is this: as these false underpinnings are given up, the equilibrium is temporarily experienced as unstable. However, the fact is nothing is less stable than an orientation that has been upside down. Okay, the world has been upside down, and we are turning it right side up. You and I taking our place in the Great Awakening, the Community Miracle Center taking its place in the Great Awakening, in this new spiritual, religious revival that's going on, that I think things like The Chosen and things like the Hallow app are indications of. That's things turning right side up. That's giving our culture and our thinking a foundation on really wonderful, profound religious and spiritual values. The institutions that we used to rely on are being exposed. Corporate medicine, news media, both are controlled by big pharma. Frankly, if I'm watching anything that says brought to you by Pfizer, I'm probably going to turn it off. I talked a couple weeks ago and just reminded people that Pfizer is basically a criminal drug cartel. And if you're relying on a criminal drug cartel to bring you your news and to give you your government, because they finance the campaigns, and to give you your entertainment, I think twice about that. I call it a criminal drug cartel because in 2009, Pfizer paid the largest criminal fine that was ever levied to any company or any person. It was $2.3 billion. That's billion with a B. And it was because of fraud. They had been convicted of fraud and deceptive marketing. They were lying to people. And that was 15 years ago. You know, 2.3 billion 15 years ago is certainly 3 billion or more today. So if you're relying on the criminal drug cartel Pfizer to give you your news, to give you your politicians, think again. Choose again. And a lot of people apparently are. People aren't as stupid as a lot of institutions thought they were. Millions are turning to alternative news sources. Millions are turning to alternative entertainment. Millions are turning to alternative apps on their phone to give them inspiration, true spiritual, religious inspiration. A Course in Miracles says the Course in Miracles says the Bible says that the branch that bears no fruit will be cut off and will wither away. Be glad. The light will shine from the true foundation of life, and your own thought system will stand corrected. It cannot stand otherwise. I think what we're experiencing is the branch that bore no fruit withering away and being cut off. Don't look at it longingly and don't think about how we can bring it back. Be glad. Rejoice. I'm glad. I'm rejoicing. New institutions are evolving, are coming forth with a greater foundation in love, in truth, in real spirituality, real religious thought and values. They're going to be at the core of our society. And we have a part to play in making this happen. That's our part to play in the Great Awakening. We have a part to play in the restoration of spiritual and religious thought at the foundation of life. Okay, thank you. That's my talk for today.
Woke up my eyes to see, woke up my head to peace, woke up my heart to be free, woke up our world, you and me. I've opened up my heart, I'm at the start. I save the world, I save the world, I save the world, I save